Hello, and you're very welcome to our virtual open evening. My name is Mihal, and I'm a Schools Liaison Officer here in IT Sligo. And this evening, we're going to be talking all things science. We'll be looking at 3 different courses, and to help me do that, I'm going to have 3 guest speakers, of course. So first up, we'll be chatting to Stephen Daly, who's Programme Chair of our Biomedical Science and Medical Biotechnology degrees. We'll then talk to Alana McGrory, a final year student in our Pharmaceutical Science with Drug Development programme. And last but certainly not least, we'll be chatting to Dr. Geraldine Dowling, who's a lecturer on our Forensic Investigation and Analysis programme. So 3 guys are very, very welcome here this evening. Now, just to point out, do a little bit of housekeeping before we kick off. Anyone that has any questions, of course, you can go back to our landing page or our homepage on this virtual event, and you can ask your questions there. And of course, we're available all the time. Just go to itsligo.ie/CAO, where you can get us through Messenger, through email, and so on, and ask us any questions you have at any stage. But let's get into the talks now. First up, as I said, we have Stephen Daly. Stephen, you're very, very welcome.
Hey, all, how are you? Good to see you.
Good, thank you. Stephen, so I suppose basics of it. What is medical biotechnology and biomedical science?
Okay, very good question. I suppose just first of all, we've got a 3-year level 7 ordinary degree in biomedical science and a 4-year level 8 in medical biotechnology. And we've got an add-on degree from the level 7 to the level 8 course. So just so you're aware of that at the beginning. But really, biomedical science, medical biotechnology is really about human health and disease and the application of, I suppose, biological solutions to try and, I suppose, develop medicines around those areas. So I suppose to specifically go into it a little bit more, the sort of subjects that students might be studying into would be the likes of immunology, understanding about the immune system, molecular biology. Okay, I suppose how do you develop PCR reactions, things like that. These are terms that people are very familiar with in today's world, of course, and that's why I'm starting with that. So they're the sort of areas that people will work in at a very basic level, microbiological techniques, things like that. Students also learn a lot about the industry of biomedical science, or the biomedical sciences industries as well, and I suppose in how they work, so they have that sort of overall understanding of it. Mial, I suppose just to give a more practical example again, a lot of drugs and medicines that are being developed nowadays are what's called to be biological medicines. And that's what we call to be the biopharmaceutical industry in Ireland. And there's a huge focus on that here, and there's a lot of employment in it. And within our biomedical science course and our medical biotechnology degree as well, we, I suppose, have a lot of subjects that are very focused on how do you develop these biological medicines, which are really the future of pharmaceutical industry. So, for example, the vaccines that many of us are aware of right now, many of them are biological medicines, for example.
Yeah, and in terms of, I suppose, the practical everyday uses, you've touched on it there, Stephen, all right, with the vaccines, PCR tests, as you say, that's, I feel, ingrained in our heads, especially at the moment. But what kind of practical everyday, I suppose, uses or what we use, I suppose, everyday life, would students or graduates of this program be involved in?
I suppose the 3 main industries that students are going into from these courses, the medical diagnostics industry. So how do you develop, how do you test, analyze, I suppose, diagnosis of disease, be it in how do you make these diagnostics that are used in hospital labs? How do you make a PCR test? How do you develop it? How do you develop a lateral flow antigen test? So that's the diagnostics industry. A lot of our students are going into that area. Medical devices. So I suppose that's very much about making heart stents, hip replacements, things like that. That requires quite a lot of scientific knowledge, as you can appreciate, and a lot of quality knowledge as well, which is developed throughout this course. And then finally, you've got the biopharmaceutical industry as well. And this is about how we're making and developing the next generation of biological medicines. So as I said, traditional medicines like your aspirins and your paracetamols are made with chemistry, if you like, okay? Whereas the new generation of drugs are using biological processes. And there's a lot of jobs in that area in particular in Ireland.
Just when you mentioned jobs, Stephen, I'll just jump into that one now. But of course, the biopharmaceutical industry is huge in Ireland. I think I read somewhere that the top 10 companies in the world, I think, all operate in Ireland. Now, in terms of that, there must be huge employment there for our graduates.
Absolutely. There are a large number of biopharmaceutical companies in Ireland, and they're continually expanding. There's estimated that there's about at least 8,500 to 10,000 jobs in the biopharma industry at any one time. There's a huge pull, I suppose, for graduates, well-skilled graduates who really understand the technology around this area. And you can be sure that, I suppose, what they get from this course, that they are quite competent and work ready upon graduation. But as I say, biopharmaceutical is one area. The diagnostics industry is significant in Ireland as well. There's quite a lot of jobs and roles in that area, as there are in medical devices. So students have lots of options, but employability is extremely high from the course. There's no doubt about that. Companies come to us in advance, we're finding in recent years, looking for graduates because there's such a demand.
Now, you mentioned work ready, Stephen. I suppose two things that we can offer students as well is practical learning. I love that about IT Sligo, that there's a big emphasis on practical learning, especially in science. So would students have a lot of time in labs?
Yeah, I suppose some of the things that I suppose discern our course, and I think a lot of our IT Sligo courses as a whole in our science, is that our students get a lot of lab time, and they're very, very competent in the lab skills when they go and work in industry. And I get that feedback from them when they go and work in industry, and I speak to them afterwards. They say they find the laboratory element not very, I won't say challenging, they find it interesting, but they're quite competent. They don't find it difficult or daunting, maybe is the word. So certainly there's a strong lab emphasis in the courses here in IT Sligo and in biomed and medical biotechnology. So students, they have that advantage when they go into the workplace. I know we'll probably talk about it. I'll say we also have got a link with NIBRT and BlackRock, and NIBRT is the National Institute of Bioprocessing Research and Training. And this was developed, I suppose, in the mid 2000s, if you like. And I suppose really it's a training center for the biopharmaceutical industry. And in year 4, our graduates get to go and do training in NIBRT. And I think that gives them a real edge for when they go and work to apply for jobs in the biopharmaceutical industry, that they have a little bit of real world experience, be it a day or two, whatever, but it gives them that edge, I suppose, when they go, I suppose, and apply for jobs, that they have that. Something else, Michal, that we're focusing very strongly in our course, as well as in is in the soft skills. And you'll hear more and more now that the soft skills are now the hard skills. So what do I mean by soft skills? Well, I'm talking about, communication, teamwork, problem solving, those sort of areas, presentation skills. Can you do that? A lot of, employers are now are taking the science degree as a given, but what are you like as a person? And that's something that we focus on very strongly, both from year 1 all the way to year 4, that students are actually developing their soft skills and that they can communicate and problem solve and do all those sort of things that are needed. And that's really what will discern them from other, I suppose, graduates from other courses or other colleges, should I say, as a result. Yeah,
massive there, as you say, Stephen. Soft skills are so important. Of course, students will obviously graduate with this wonderful degree that can take them anywhere, but having those soft skills as well is massive. And as you said, the link with NIBRT, and I'm also glad you give the full title of that acronym, because I was kind of scared to say it, but thank you very much. But yeah, that's an amazing link as well. And students as well, Stephen, between 3rd and 4th year, of course, have an opportunity to go on work placement if they wish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our students, we organise placements between the summer of year 3 and year 4. Students can do them in a variety of different environments, from pharma, biopharma companies, whatever, diagnostics, hospital labs, testing labs, independent testing labs. So we will help and facilitate that as lecturers to try and find the students the best placements that they can, and it certainly helps them then, I suppose, with gaining employment the following year, and many of them often get jobs with the company as a result of that afterwards.
Stephen, we could keep talking, but I'm conscious of my time. But thank you so much. And basically, of course, with, as I say, a lot of just practical learning, huge employment opportunities, those links to NIBRT, work placements, what's not to love. So exactly. If there's any more questions, check it out on the website, of course. And I know Stephen's always very open to any questions. So do get in contact if you have any. Stephen, thanks so much for your time. You'll be staying on to listen to the other two guys.
I will indeed, yeah.
Alana, you're next in the hot seat. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this evening?
Good. Thank you. So, Alana, of course, you're a final year student in our pharmaceutical science with drug development degree or honours degree there. So why did you choose to study that programme?
So we're going on now 5 years ago. I was sitting leaving cert. What on earth am I going to do after college and CEO? So originally I was aiming for pharmacy, but as everybody probably knows at this stage, pharmacy, I think at this point is near the 600 point mark, and it 5 years ago, it was just over 500 points. And I was like, right, that's impossible. Like, I'm not going to get that far. So then I looked at pharmaceutical science, and I was between Maynooth and Sligo. And at the time, there was a lot of stuff going on. So I was like, right, Sligo, it's only an hour for me. I live in Donegal. It's only an hour. You know, I'm away from home, but I'm not too far in case I need to get home quick. So that's kind of where it came that way. And also, like the smaller class size is definitely a big pull, because like each lecturer knows you by name. It's not you're just a number in a hall with 500 other people. Like your classes are 30. You might merge with some other classes, but every lecturer knows you by name.
Yeah, it's massive. That it's a good point you make, Alana. And something I suppose we always say is that I'm very proud of is that we've the best lecturer to student ratio in Ireland. So all that extra support you need, just even something simple as getting your own lab space in science is much easier when we have those really good class size numbers. In terms of the course then, Alana, any favourite modules now? As I say, you're nearly through your time with us, but any favourite modules over the couple of years?
Right, at this stage I probably can't remember the names of half of them, but it's like you start in first year and you start with biology, chemistry, maths, physics, all the basics. You don't need to have anything really coming out of your leaving cert for them. But then moving in, like you start doing pharmaceutical science, biopharmaceutical science, like as Stephen was touching on there, like the newer drugs are all biopharmaceutical based. That'll be probably one of my favorites. And another one would be kind of two merged into one. You got to make a compound in the lab. Can't remember any names of them, but sure, you know. And then the following week, you would analyze that compound in a different lab. So the labs were like intertwined. That's another cool kind of thing you got to do. And then moving on, say into fourth year on the soft skill side of things, like the last semester, we had this one called work practice, and we merged with the biomeds for a couple of workshops, and that was quite cool too. You know, like we don't probably know quite a few of them, so we just got to merge and work on quality issues and work through the process of what you would have to do if you were out in a pharmaceutical or biopharmaceutical plant industry.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And once again, yeah, as Stephen was saying, and you're saying it too, the soft skills, like, and even though there's two different courses, and it's like being out in industry, you say, like two different courses, two different departments, maybe in the industry, being able to work together, going back to what Stephen was saying, those soft skills and how important they are. Would you have said, just on something else like that, practical learning, once again, Alana, would you find that I know you've said it for reading about something maybe in a classroom and then getting to carry that through to a science lab and get to physically do it, does that just help to learn?
Definitely. Like I really learned, like, just give me something to do. Don't like you have people like just talking at you in a lecture theatre. Like if you have, like, say this back in first year now again, someone talking to you about chemistry, but then you go into your labs of your groups of 30 or whatever, and it just makes so much more sense when you kind of go through it again, but in a more practical sense. So
yeah, definitely. And you also got to go on a work placement.
I did. I was very fortunate. I got a quite long work placement. I got a 12-month one, which meant I took a year out of college. So I started January 2020 and went to January 2021 in Sligo in Abbott Diagnostics, and I worked with the business excellence team. Sorry for tongue twisting over myself.
You're okay.
But so in that business excellence, people like, you're studying science, why are you doing a business one? In business excellence, in the team actually at the time were an engineer, somebody who graduated biochemistry, and then somebody who with a business degree, and then I was pharmaceuticals. So business excellence, they kind of just work through like problem solving, idea generation, optimizing workflow within a plant. Like that's just a few of the things. So with that, then I got to see bits of what the quality department would do, what the operations team would do, what health and safety would do. So the whole scheme of how an operations would work in a pharmaceutical, biopharm, like diagnostic treatment plant, whatever you want to call it. Like overall, that's the core of what every plant, no matter where you go, the flow will roughly be the same.
Yeah, and the work placements all right. Like I know we're really massive in that here in IT Sligo and work placement. You've heard it there from Alana herself, and they're so important, and it's just a great way to get out into industry and I suppose sometimes figure out what you want to do or is an area you want to go into. So massive with us here in IT Sligo. Alana, as you say, you're nearly through your time here in IT Sligo. Unfortunately, I know you've done great things around the college. But in terms of looking into the future,
yes.
What are you thinking about yourself? I know you've got a few different ideas in mind.
Yeah, at the minute, I'm looking at a couple of quality graduate programs, like going into the quality departments of different companies around. Working with them for 2 or 3 years and see after that. Might end up going to do pharmacy. So I'll be another 4 years, but we'll see what we do. But yeah.
There's good money in it, Alana.
Yeah.
So, but once again, it's those options, and I love that once again about our programs. It's the options then, like you're debating going working straight away or going into further study into pharmacy. And I just touched on there, just before I let you go, Alana, I've enjoyed your time in IT Sligo. I know is it the dance club, did you set that up, did you?
Well, no, I didn't set it up. I was part of the first year of it that I was there, but no, I wasn't the sole person set up. But no, I'm chairperson, secretary, I'm treasurer this year of Dance Society, and then like teach dance within it. But yeah, one piece of advice I would give to incoming first years would be join as many clubs and societies at the start, meet as many people as you can. And obviously with the time, because like you have to also have to study, see, like balance your time out, but like find something that's you. And if there's no club or society there for you, set up one. Like,
exactly. And I know you've done some great things sharing your time here, Lana. I know you've been a great ambassador for us, as you are today, of course. But Lana, thanks so much for your time, for joining us, and wish you, of course, all the best of luck for the future. You're more than welcome.
Just to add to what Alana said, Alana, as you know, you said you might do pharmacy, which is brilliant, and that there is a natural progression there for students who do pharmaceutical science, that they can go on and do pharmacy if they want somewhere else, and that there are pathways there, if you like, that are developed.
Yeah, and that is, absolutely, Stephen, an important point too. Yeah, because as Lana touched on, it's popular, and I have a sister-in-law who's a pharmacist, funny enough, but I know it is very popular. I know the money and it's very good as well.
Yeah.
But the points, because of all that, are very high. And I suppose just going back to alternative pathways, and once again, we're big on that. There's always a pathway to the career you want. If it's something you really want to do, if it takes an extra year, 2 years, 3, whatever the case is, if it's what you want to do for life, it's worth it. And I think myself, Geraldine and Stephen will probably testify that you work long enough in life, and so
exactly.
2 extra years in college ain't such a bad thing. Thank you, guys. Last but not least, of course, we have Dr. Geraldine Dowling, and Geraldine is a lecturer on our forensic investigation and analysis degrees, of course, which we offer at level 7 and level 8. Geraldine, you're very welcome. And I suppose, first of all, the course, even by the title of the course, it sounds interesting. What type of modules or practicals, I suppose, would students study? Because I've heard of things from analysing bullet residue to DNA profiling. It's just hugely fascinating stuff.
Well, firstly, Michal, thank you very much for the invitation. As you said, I'm part of the forensics team of lecturers here in IT Sligo. So in terms of the modules, just to kind of briefly go through what one covers between year 1 and year 4. In year 1, students are provided with a solid foundation, basically in biology, chemistry, and physics. They're also introduced to information technology modules. They're introduced also to the criminal justice system and to, some sub areas within the forensic science field. Following on from that, in year 2 and year 3, those first year modules that they were introduced to, we go into them in much more detail, and we start to introduce other modules such as crime scene investigation, and in addition to that, we look at we're introducing molecular biology, genetics, and then some of the quality subjects like statistics and quality assurance. And just to say that we get in industry professionals who are working in the area to teach on some of those modules. So, for example, the crime scene investigation modules, we will have some police officers, etc., and some practicing forensic scientists involved. In terms of year 4, if it's the 4-year degree, folks, which is a level 8, we will, the final year really focuses on looking at your high level investigative, observational evidence interpretation. I should say that we have a level 7 and a level 8. So students who enter for the 3-year program, which is level 7, have the option of continuing into year 4 to study those subjects, where they can also obtain a level 8 qualification. Subjects such as crime scene management, analytical toxicology. I myself am a practicing forensic toxicologist. So a lot of the staff who teach on the course are also practitioners within a subdiscipline within forensic science, but they also in 4th year will undertake a research-based project working with supervisors both in-house in the Institute of Technology with lecturers, but also with potential, we've had links with industry, and we've also had links with practicing forensic scientists who also work with the students on those 4th year projects. So I hope that gives a brief overview.
Brilliant, yeah, it's super interesting. As I say, I suppose I'm not a sciencey person myself, but even like I just think it sounds so interesting. I've looked at the modules before, and of course students can check out the modules and read them in more detail, but as you say, you've touched on there, Geraldine, they're so interesting sounding.
I think, Michal, the main point to make for the students who undertake this course is that there is a major focus on developing their analytical skills. And their analytical skills are highly sought after by a wide variety of industries. Students from this course can work in the pharma industry, they can work in the brewing industry, they can work in the food industry. In addition to that, they can also work in hospital labs, they can also work obviously in forensics laboratories. In addition to that, we actually have for students of this course the option for them to undertake a professional master's in education. So there are numerous colleges that are assigned by the Teaching Council of Ireland that if the student completes a degree from that particular course, they are then eligible to apply for the postgraduate master's in education. And the degree in IT Sligo in Forensics Investigation of Analysis is one of those degrees. So just to make that point, you can either go the route of working in the laboratory or working as a practitioner, scientist in a wide variety of industries, or if you decide after your time here that you have an interest in education, then you can go and further that also. I must add that also students can continue with postgraduate study where they can undertake a master's or a PhD. And again, back to my original point, the actual analytical skills in this course give students the opportunity to apply for really competitive master's and PhD programs because the analytical skill set is so valued in a wide variety of disciplines for further postgraduate study.
Yeah, it's a massive point there you make, all right, Geraldine, that, as you said, analytical skills and the wide variety of careers and further study, which I was going to ask you about, but I'm glad you've covered it all. But there's a huge amount there for graduates. I suppose I'm conscious of our time, but before I let you go, Geraldine, professional accreditation as well with this programme.
Yeah, great question. First and foremost, the degree is accredited by the Chartered Society of Forensic Science, which is extremely important. In addition to that, the Teaching Council of Ireland, as I mentioned earlier, the course is accredited to those guidelines so that a student can go forward to train as a secondary school teacher. And the subjects that they can teach will be science up to junior cert, if my memory serves me correctly, and also chemistry up to leaving cert. Now, I'm also a registered teacher of the Teaching Council, but they would also potentially have the opportunity to register with the further education sector. But at the time that they complete their training, they need to check the guidelines with those professional bodies. But as it stands currently, they are the options for those students. And my last point would be around professional accreditation on the staff. It's really important that the staff themselves who are teaching on the course are keeping up to date. No, especially with the likes of forensic science, there's always huge amounts of developments within the field. And as you know, forensic science is a very broad area. It goes from, ballistics to DNA to toxicology. And the staff themselves are members of their own professional accreditation organizations, which means that they are at the cutting edge of either setting standards for practitioners in forensic science in their subdiscipline within their field, but also meeting the requirements of their own professional accreditation within the discipline of forensic science. So I hope that covers everything that you were wondering about.
Definitely, Geraldine. Thanks so much. It's so interesting, as I say, and I know we could keep talking and talking and talking, and same with Stephen and same with Lana, but I think that's about all we have time for this evening. So what I'm going to do before we go is just remind everyone, if you have any questions, please do go to our homepage on our virtual open evening. Ask us all those questions. As always, go to itsligo.ie/CAO to send us on your questions. You have loads of different ways to contact us there. Once again, Stephen, Alana and Geraldine, thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm sure anyone tuning in would have got huge benefit from listening to you guys. Thanks once again, and to everyone watching, enjoy the rest of your virtual open evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.